Maury, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. We have to talk. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Welcome to Horror Movies with Friends. I'm your host, Andy Green, aka Wolfmandy Screame. And this is I've already lost count, day 7 of 31 movies, 31 guests. Wave to the camera. This is a guest and friend, and 31 drink pairings from around the world. We got coffee, you can already tell, and we got a really good movie, really good guest today. And I mean, it's time to introduce him. This is a dear friend of mine, the most Freddy person I know. Maury Shessel, editor, filmmaker, artist, friend. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I originally thought this was a box of cookies. It looked like a box of cookies.
That's true. Maybe I guess I was hoping they would see this, and this would be but you're ready for coffee already here. But before we get to the coffee?
Yeah.
Maury, what movie did you have us watch?
A Nightmare on Elm Street. The original, not the horrible 2010 remake that needs to die a horrible death.
Ooh. How would you kill that remake?
Oh, God. Just oblivion, forget it. Like, the worst possible death is to just be disappear and
so it's like Coco, basically. The guy, the movie is forgotten.
Yeah,
and that's a great answer. So it just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and nobody utters its name ever again. And I just made that mistake of
No. But I like that one. And so Wes Craven, 1984.
Yes.
And the film is streaming on HBO Max. If you want to follow along, if you haven't seen the movie, this is one of the few that I have seen, and I imagine it's probably the most popular of the ones that we were doing, but before I even came up with this idea, I was going to go through all of these this month.
Yeah.
I was going to do all the nightmares, because I've sort of vicariously gone through the Fridays and the Halloweens with you and our other friends and stuff, so this one felt like I'm building it. I'm climbing up the mountain, because this one I knew was going to be my favorite.
Yeah, this series is a lot of fun because they get to deal with dreams and surrealism, and they really have fun with art direction and editing. You'll see as they get further along, and I think the pinnacle of that is part 5, where it's just a crazy fever dream. And if you haven't seen that one yet, it's a very good one.
I haven't. I'm going to be watching 2 and 3 for the first time the next 2 days. Okay. So it's just going to go, and then I'm going to have to take a break. But then, Halloween's never ending this year for me.
You seem like you have a full plate with all these horror movies.
I do, but I think we're about to have full bellies. I think, the message of Nightmare on Elm Street, as far as I can tell, is to stay awake.
Yes.
And the best way to do that I know that's the healthiest way to do that, at least, perhaps, is coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah, this is an all-time great coffee movie, so there's only one thing we could pair it with. So I have this Costa Rican coffee. It is from Brandywine Coffee Roasters, and they do Halloween better than any other coffee company that I can tell. They sent this Tales from the Coffee Zone. Every week I'm going to get one of these bad boys as being part of the spooky coffee club. Yeah. And we are drinking today the Scary Coffee to Drink in the Dark number 3. Ooh. More coffee to chill your bones. So Costa Rican, and it's a creepy Caturra bean here, and then I am going to pour roughly in front of the camera for the people. And let's just
I like how they tell you the roasting date on it.
Oh yeah, it's the end of September. Is that accurate?
September 30th.
That's pretty fresh, isn't
Yeah.
it? All right, there we go, Maury. I think that's probably enough
Thank you.
for us because spoiler alert, we're doing this at night. So this is we are aping the movie right now. We are Nancy in this moment.
I like your clear coffee mugs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was purchased for this.
Okay. It's always fun to do, you know, to see like when you like pour milk in, you see it swirl and cloud and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, we don't have milk, but we have coffee in each other. Let's see if we can do this.
I drink black coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Me too.
Oh wow, it's a very interesting taste. I was not expecting that. I definitely taste the almond.
The almond? Yeah. We're cheating here, but I think that it definitely, I get the nougat. I think that's sort of the like sweet element of this. Do you get any of the fruit?
I get something else. I'm not really good at this, so it's hard to...
This is practice. Well, it's like, I think the back says pluots. I would be lying if I said I taste pluots here, but I feel like I get some sweet fruit at like but it's not too dark. It's like what, a medium, I would say.
How do they get it to taste like these things? Like, is it just naturally in it, or do they like mix it? Do they somehow like mix it, like cross the coffee bean with like almonds?
No. I mean, I think it's the same thing as like wine or beer. Well, beer you and wine you can mix with ingredients too, but like I think it's the soil and how it is made and how it is roasted.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's not pluots in this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just beans, and based on the elevation or the time of year, climate, all that different stuff. That's why we're getting it. But also, and this is something, I think there's the power of suggestion here too. You know, if I'm reading that it's nougat, I'm now like, oh yeah, nougat. That's nougat.
I can taste that.
Yeah, because you want to be smart and you want to be like, I taste something in my mouth. So yeah. But like, what kill in this movie does this coffee remind you of?
Oh, definitely Tina's murder, for sure.
The first.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because coffee sharpens the senses.
Ah, okay. So now we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kill. I mean, that death. I think all of the best. I'm just like all over the place because this movie gets me excited. I know it gets you excited.
Yeah, very.
And it's for me, it's the creativity on display in a lot of ways. There's just so much good filmmaking here. But I have to ask you this. I gave you a list of movies. There was plenty of choices, but I sort of realized when I sent it, I was like, no, Maury's gonna come back and we have to do the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Why is this the only one for, like, why is this is this your favorite horror film?
I mean, okay, it's definitely in the top three. You know, I would say probably Scream and Alien are better.
Okay.
But those are like master crafted films. Like this was made on a shoestring budget with, you know, a filmmaker who was over the hill. Some had said by that point, and some people had said he had already made his best movies by this point.
Really?
Yeah, you know, because he had done the Hills That Eyes.
Yeah. So okay, when did this movie find you?
Oh God, I mean this was a movie that I saw for the first time as a kid. Like I must have been like 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
And definitely, you know, I kept seeing it like again. You know, it's like I saw it maybe again when I was like 16, and then again when I was 20, and then again when I was like 25. And every single time, it's just like, wow, no, this is a great movie. It's a very dark movie, but at the same time also very fun.
Yes.
And I don't know how they balance that, but somehow they do.
That's true, because it's not like there's a ton of jokes in here, really. I don't remember. I mean, most of the jokes are like bad by Rod, right?
Yeah.
They're like just like he's a piece of shit and we want him to die.
Yeah.
Like But I guess, is it fun just because it's just sort of thrilling in a way? Because it's...
I think it's fun because, I mean, you have to forget about all the other movies that come after it if you look at the movie just by itself.
Right.
There's that element of mystery where you're uncovering what exactly is going on, right?
Yes.
Who is Freddy Krueger? What exactly is happening? What are the rules of this dream thing?
Right,
You know,
which I'm still,
Yeah.
I feel like that's the whole franchise is probably a little fuzzy on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some would argue this movie is, but I would argue it's not.
Ooh.
What did that protect? I don't know.
Yeah, and you're sort of like discovering it together because, you know, the parents know what's going on, but you're seeing it through the perspective of the kids.
Yes.
So, and also, let's not forget the major fake out, which is you think that the protagonist is going to be Tina.
Right.
And she gets killed first. So they're setting up her to be the final girl, right?
Right, exactly.
From the very beginning, and she's the first one that gets offed.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and that's obviously something that's been echoed, by Craven himself in Scream and all that stuff.
He copies himself a lot in Scream in this movie.
Yeah, no, he does. But you called Scream a masterpiece, and I would agree with you.
Yeah.
So it's copying is all part of the playbook, I think.
I'm more interested in what you thought of this movie.
Ooh,
You haven't
okay.
seen it the
Okay.
second.
Okay, well,
I
please.
haven't only seen it. Right, you said this is the second time.
This was the second time, yeah.
Okay.
So you have questions here. Take over.
What did you think? Because I know there's certain things that a lot of people have issues with from the first and second viewing. Like for instance, the ending. Like a lot of people don't think have issues with the ending.
Well, let's just go straight to the ending.
Okay.
And everyone, I mean, I already said we're
Spoilers.
watching HBO Max. It's 1984. Come on.
Yeah.
I love the ending.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, where it's very bright and everybody's alive again, and it's clearly still a dream at that point. And also, if you have any if you don't know, when it becomes Freddy's car, and I love that. I thought that was great. And also, I mean, basically just means the nightmare's not over, and that's such a horror movie way to end. Because and especially knowing that there's 10 more of these fucking things, it just makes sense to me. And I think it's just also sort of a devastating ending too, because you think that they win, and I guess is that why people don't like it, because they wanted him to be forgotten and successful, or why is it hated? Why
I think a lot of people don't think the ending makes sense. They're like, what were they doing? Or they think it was some weird sort of jump scare to just be it's one
the
more
funny joke at the end,
final
yeah.
scare. But I mean, to me, here's what happens.
Okay.
Major spoilers, right? She sets her watch to wake up,
Ooh, yes.
to wake her back up so she can pull Freddy out of the dream, and
Right.
all that happens. My theory about what happens is that she never wakes up. That's the last scene in the movie that takes place in reality, and she never wakes up again. And you think she wakes up because the cops come and whatnot, but then you realize that when Freddy the footsteps up the stairs and
Right,
the fire,
exactly.
that's the turning point, right, where you realize that she's still sleeping. And then he goes into the mother's room, and you see that scene play out, which is obviously a dream, right? That's not.
I mean, it's pretty intense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's not taking place in reality.
Right.
And then she turns her back on him and says, I'm the one who's in control.
Yes.
And then he disappears, right?
Right.
She walks outside. She thinks she's won, that she's in control because now it's daylight. Now her mom's back. Now she's happy. But no, Freddy just lost that round. Freddy is going to keep on trying to win because she has to go to sleep every night.
Yes.
And every night he's going to have another chance to get her. And that was the ending to me. That's the ending that I saw when I saw that movie.
I think that's how I saw it too. I mean, I don't know if I had this strict in terms of what was dream, what was reality, but for me, I'm just along for the ride and want them to surprise me and do cool things, and especially the whole movie. I mean, they say it what are dreams anyway? It's bodies hocus pocus. They're saying that we're gonna just have some fun, and what is it's Inception bullshit too. You can break down those movies and say why they don't make sense, but bothers me, I think, as a movie goer and even a filmmaker too. Like, I don't want to have everything explained or everything to follow. But I mean, that you can, and that people I know spend a lot of time figuring it out and do have theories is what's so cool too. Because like, who knows if that's what Wes Craven thought? It doesn't really matter. It's what you thought is right.
Yeah,
what I think is right.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see other people's interpretations and stuff. But when I watch that, I mean, when I watch that movie, it's clear to me that this is what they were doing and this is what they were going for. And I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah, is this like 20? Like,
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, how do you count a movie that you like leave on in the background while you're like doing work or something like that?
This is a good work movie for you? Yeah, because you can't go to sleep. You got to be focused.
I don't know. I like comfort movies in the background, if you can call this a comfort movie.
Yeah, that says a lot about you that this is a comfort movie. I like it.
Well, movies that I'm not watching for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, like I like when I have stuff on in the background, I like it to be something that like I already know. So it's like, oh, like now I can see, you know, I can see this scene, I can look over here and I can watch it for a bit and like, oh, this is what they did with the editing here and this is how they built this scene and this is what the cuts were like and how the coverage was. And then I go back to my work and then like you'll look back and you'll see, oh, this is what they did with that scene.
That makes sense, and it helps to have something that you know so well, because it's sort of encouraging from a work standpoint of like, this works because of this, I know this so well, but also like, I mean, imagine when you're working, editing, writing, whatever you're doing, that shit's unknown to you, right? You're figuring it out still. It's nice to then look at something that like, oh, okay, this is comfort because it's been figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I was having this thought also with Freddy, where it's like, you know, Freddy's become this big iconic thing. But with the original Nightmare on Elm Street, they were writing something unique, like for the first time. And you know, who's to say if it was going to work or not? And I was trying to think about what are the things that hit. Like, why did Freddy hit, right? And I think, you know, I've come up with like a couple of ideas of like why Freddy was different, right? Like Freddy was different because, you know, the slasher craze that was going on in the 80s, right? It was always the mask and then a location and, you know, kids who were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
This is no mask, right?
Right.
And they even teased that, right? When
he
pulls off the face and there was the right. They're even like making a joke about that.
Yes, that was great.
So there's no mask. There's no wrong place at the wrong time. These kids are targeted, right?
There's literally no place they can go either, which is the scariest fucking part. Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, they pick something that is inescapable. Like you can't not go to sleep. Just like you have to eat, like you have to breathe, like sleeping is inevitable.
Yes.
So.
And that makes Freddy inevitable. And I think that's, I mean, 100% agree. That is why he's such a more effective, I think, sort of monster or slasher than the others, or at least he's scarier to me, because this feels more scary, even though obviously I'm dying in any of those scenarios, but this one to me, yeah, you can't not sleep. You will die if you don't sleep, so it's like Freddy wins either way, you know, and no matter how much coffee we drink.
Yeah.
And you know, this coffee's delicious, but it's not worth that. The other thing is the look, I think, is so iconic. And I know that, well, because like in, you know, the Friday the 13th, Jason isn't even in the first one, and it takes a while for him to get the look, right?
Right.
This one, he's there, and he has it immediately, and the knives for fingers, and the hat, the sweater, it's all there, and it sort of, I mean, I'm sure he's changes a little bit over the movies, but like,
yeah,
they got it.
I would say the look stays pretty much the same. It just depends on how much money they have for that incarnation.
To make like the face look more gruesome or whatever. Yeah.
Definitely the lighting of him in this movie is different from the rest, right? Like he's always lit in shadows and darkness in this movie versus the other ones. He's lit where you can see the whole thing, right? You know, he's lit with like a soft light and blasted so that, you know, it's like, you know, a soap opera.
And I imagine that's because, well, I mean, now that we know who he is, we've seen him, the allure is slightly off, or is it more like he's now the star, sort of like, so we want to see him in all his glory.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought about it that way. I mean, I always just assumed that each director has their own sort of style and penmanship of their film. And so, you know, lighting's a huge part of that, and that this is how Wes Craven did it, and the other directors did it, you know, their way. But yeah, I mean, I guess if people come to the theater to see Freddy, and, you know, Bob Shea and New Line Cinema are giving them what they want.
Right, yeah, they're not coming to see whoever, you know, the new Tina is for the most part.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we got to talk about Nancy a little bit.
Okay.
Because Nancy's great and a badass. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the line I love is just, I'm into survival. I love that.
It's a great line.
Yeah,
right?
it's a great line, and just sort of says exactly, especially for a final girl, that is literally the only thing that matters, I guess. But it's also, she has like a Macaulay Culkin streak of the Home Alone before.
I was wondering if we were going to talk about that.
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails.
I mean, well, no, I mean, it's just a brief moment, but
Yeah.
it's like, I'm very impressed with what she can do on sleep deprivation for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I know when I've been talking to you previously that like Nancy is very high in the canon of, is she the number one in terms of?
It's hard to, you know, rank.
Yeah, I know, we're sort of like trying to do a speed round on this.
Yeah. I mean, I love that she fights back, you know. I love the final girls that fight back, you know, like Friday the 13th Part 2. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yes.
you know, there's that moment where, you know, Jenny tries to fight back against Jason.
Right, where they're smart.
Which you don't really see in the rest of like the Friday the 13th franchise. And I think, you know, Nancy tries to fight back from, I don't know from what point.
Is it when Rod
I
dies?
think it's maybe after the sleep clinic.
Okay, yeah. I
Maybe-
think that makes sense.
When she realizes what's going on. Because nobody's going to help her, right? Her parents aren't going to help
No
her.
one believes her.
Law enforcement. Not that they even could help her, right?
Right.
But,
Well, I guess they do believe her in some ways, but are ignoring her, right? Like they know something is true about her, which is the other layer of this movie.
yeah, I mean, I always wonder what the parents are thinking, you know, because they're the ones that murdered, you know, Freddy Krueger,
Right, in
I
the
guess,
first place.
20, 30 years before.
Right.
And that are they thinking, you know, this is, you know, my daughter coming across a news article at the library, because this is the 1980s,
Right.
about this, and then misinterpreting some sort of childhood memory. Is my child making this up? Like, what is going on? And I love they don't say it, right? Because horror is always about the unknown.
Yes.
And so they don't tell you.
And I think that is better. I
Yeah.
think whatever answer would be, well, I mean, I think it's enough to know that the parents made a mistake, right? I mean, I don't blame them for killing Freddy in that scenario, or at least it makes sense to me that happened. But then that it's like, I guess their guilt is it's sort of like, it's about generational trauma, you know? Like that's what we're sort of witnessing. Now the kids have to pay for what the parents did. But maybe more than even what they did, it's the fact that they keep it a fucking secret. That seems like, to me, to be the problem. That we're not going to talk about it.
Like all good, you know, horror movies, this is a metaphor for the political situation
Right.
of the time, and you hit on, which was, so the Reagan administration's financial spending that, you know, the next generation was going to have to pay for.
Yes.
So this was a metaphor for the sins of the parents being, you know, passing on to the children, right? Like the children were going to have to pay for the sins of the parents.
God, that's more scary than Freddy. Because it's happening, and it has been since then.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, you make the argument that those policies have only gotten bigger, right? Because we're talking about the debt ceiling right now,
Right.
like in the news, right? Raising the debt ceiling, right? Because the debt has only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger,
Right.
So somebody's going to have to pay for that one day. And, you know, they thought in the 1980s that we would be paying for that today, but we're just passing the buck along, you know?
Oh, yeah. No. Responsibility, or lack thereof, is the most, I mean, maybe worldwide, I was going to say the most American thing. I can think of.
Nancy, there's something wrong with you. You're imagining.
To me, it's just like the thing that makes me so mad, this is totally off topic and probably gonna get cut, but just whenever I go for a walk, it's just the number of shits all over the ground, dog shit. And to me, that is a metaphor for America, because no one can take care of, let alone themselves, but like they will take responsibility to the point, like, we're gonna have dogs that we have to take care of, but we're not gonna pick up this shit. And it's just left for, who knows, who's gonna pick that up? No one. And yes, that's what it feels like, this debt ceiling. That's how, it's the amount of shit that we're, I feel like now I actually want to face Freddy instead, you know?
Yeah. Do you?
No,
Do you?
no.
So what else do you like about A Nightmare on Elm Street?
Well, so
I'm
like,
curious.
well, the highlights are so good in terms
Okay.
of, so I like, and I, you know, and they're not new, like, you know, the stretching through the wall,
Yeah.
the bed. But I love actually when she goes up the stairs and just sort of sinks into like what looks like cake, you know, like I love that. All those moments of ingenuity are what I really, really like about it. I think the score is fantastic. By Charles Bernstein?
Oh, good. You're putting me on the spot.
No, I think it is Charles Bernstein.
Okay.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
It's got plot, right? Because this is what like a lot of horror movies of the time are lacking. Like I love Halloween. Halloween is a great film. It's atmospheric. Like that's what makes Halloween effective. It's very light on plot. Like obviously there is the plot, you know, stalking the babysitters and all that. But it's not a plot-heavy movie, right? Where a protagonist is trying to do something and is having trouble doing it, like they teach, you know, in film school.
And I try to learn,
You know, Friday the 13th is definitely not a plot-heavy movie. You know, if you look at when Alice finally realizes that she's in trouble, it's like an hour into the movie, right? You know, like you could make the argument that the first hour of the movie is still Act 1. In Friday the 13th. This movie has plot. Elm Street has plot.
Yes.
It moves, right?
Yeah.
It has characters doing things, and it has characters fighting back. It has characters trying to discover, you know, what's going on.
Right. They have agency in a way that it feels like other kids are just sort of meat, you know? And I actually sort of care about Nancy more than most, I would say, because like, I mean, they're not as sexualized either in this movie, I would say. I mean, Rod and Tina, they have like a thing.
Well,
but,
I mean, that was in my notes.
Yeah.
The sex in this movie. Sex in this movie is very unsexy.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you think of horror movies, you think of like exploitation to the point that it's like almost pornographic.
Right.
Sex in this movie is, you know, an unhealthy relationship, right? Rod and Tina, you know, Glenn is trying to get into Nancy's pants and she's not really having any of it. They don't really have, like...
Morality.
I don't even think it's morality. I don't think they have a really good relationship.
No.
Because, you know, they seem like a couple to you? They seem like just friends who are, you know, who are labeled as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Maybe that, like, it seems like maybe Glenn wants something more, and yeah, I would say that makes sense, or maybe at least Nancy's not ready to go further, but she definitely leans on him like a friend, because she, like, wants to see him, she wants to hear his voice. Every time she trusts Glenn fails miserably.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson we should have learned about Johnny Depp from this movie. That, yeah, he is just the most untrustworthy person, like, although, to be fair, I don't know, like, if I was asked to, like, stay up to do that, I would probably fail that. I'm bad at staying up. That's not, although maybe tonight.
Okay.
So if you need me for tonight, Maury, I'll do
Okay.
it.
Did you catch the double narrative of the adults becoming the kids and the kids becoming the adults?
In terms of,
I mean, it mostly takes place between Nancy and her mom. But if you
I can see that.
If you notice, Nancy starts to, like, as the movie progresses, she starts to dress like a middle-aged woman, and she's drinking coffee, which is an adult beverage, and her mother's in pajamas and like a little girl, and Nancy tucks her into bed, right?
And she her voice even changes too, like the Marge. Yeah, I mean.
The bottle, like a baby bottle, like obviously it's a bottle of alcohol, but it's a bottle.
No, that's
right?
really cool. Yeah. I don't know if I sort of I noticed all the things that you mentioned and saw that it's devolving and that she is, you know, sort of Marge is going like this and Nancy's going like this. And even any adults, like the cop, I think in that, I mean, it might still be a dream at that point where like he's just ignoring Nancy, like pleas for help, and he's just like, oh, maybe I should get the lieutenant. You know, like I think everyone, all the adults are sort of idiotic in this movie, for sure, or they do seem like they are maybe more childish. And yeah, Nancy survives because she is the one who, well, A, drinks the most coffee, but also...
Does she survive?
Well, that's true.
We end that movie, to me,
with,
it was
still
in the dream.
Yeah,
still,
true.
Yeah.
That's true. It ends with she's in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
So she survives in that we didn't see her die yet.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to end a movie, I think, because we don't know exactly, the nightmare's just begun.
I mean, you go later in the series, you have the answer to that. But if you just look at the movie,
right? Yes,
the movie.
I think that's probably why I said it like that. Yeah, I feel like I know.
I question whether or not she survives, and if you only look at that movie, as a solo
that's true.
film.
Yeah. Well, I think there's no question that we survived this experience. We made it, and Maury, it's really great to see you. I think it's the first time we've hung out. In years. Well, actually, at least solo, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean the pandemic kind of messed things up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just nice to have an excuse to talk movies and have coffee with you. That's kind of the whole point of this thing.
Yeah,
and
I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for all the notes. I could tell you were prepped and ready. Show the people all your hard work.
These are all my notes.
Did you miss anything?
The kids of Elm Street.
It happens in the suburbs, where most people live, right? So
the terror comes.
Right.
Yes.
You don't have to be at some sleepaway camp. It doesn't have to be on Halloween night. It happens in your home, right?
Right. It's actually very interesting that the time of the year is not. Yeah, because it's always ooh, it's spooky October. Yeah. You're right. It's just any night you fall asleep is when Freddy's around.
Yeah.
And that's ubiquitous and terrifying.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, if you're trying to think of the scariest sort of monster, that would be it, I think. That or, the memory, like you said at the beginning, not being able to remember things or being forgotten. And I think my fear also is being in Nancy's shoes in this movie of no one believing me. That to me is terrifying.
And even if they believed her, what could they do to help?
That's true. At least you'd not be alone, kind of, but yeah, that would feel slightly better.
That's what makes this movie so dark, right?
Yeah.
Is that, to me, there's no hope. There's no hope for her because you have to fall asleep and he's just going to keep coming again and again and again.
There was somebody else there.
Thank you, Maury, and thank you, the people,
a pleasure being here.
For watching and joining this journey. As always, I just want to say that I'm doing this for a friend that I lost this last year, a friend that I know loved this movie, and I'm running a fundraiser through the Trevor Project, a organization dedicated to helping LGBTQ plus youth with suicide prevention and crisis intervention. So if you can spare anything, there's a link below to donate. I'm just going to be doing this for the month for my buddy Chris, and just trying to connect with people because it's all we got. And I hope I see you next time for the sequel to this film, also on HBO Max. We will also have more coffee, and I'll be bringing a friend, my friend Kyle, to come and watch it. So watch with us, and until next time, I'll see you at the next phase of the moon. Let's howl at the moon for the friends we miss, the friends we wish were here to see this. Ow, ow, ow!